Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I am your host, and today I am pleased to welcome Martin Redmayne. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Rhea. How are you?
Great. Now, for those that don't know you, and you must be living underneath a rock if they don't know you, but you are the chairman of the Superyacht Group, which was established in 1992. So you are fairly well respected within the industry and have been around for just a wee while.
Far too long.
Well, the reason we had you on today is because I have been interviewing a few people in regards to Yacht Shows 2020, and it started as a result of Monaco Yacht Show deciding to go ahead with their show this year in 2020, but under a different format. I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on that.
Okay, Rhea, I think what's very interesting is that this show is bound to react to the market forces. When you have two major organizations withdraw their support, you have to react. How they're reacting is now probably more intelligent, whereas there were some certain PR noises about we're going ahead anyway regardless, and there was a little bit of a lack of collaboration or lack of communication. Certainly the communication's improved to a certain level, but there's still more to come. And I would hope that by, let's say, they've got a deadline, I believe, of July the 20th to make a call as to whether the show will go ahead or not. So I think there's a lot of things happening behind closed doors that will one day soon start giving some clarity. My point of view, I'm sure it will go ahead. Right? I'm being really confident. I'm sure it will go ahead. Whether it goes ahead as a successful project for the market and for themselves is the thing we have to analyze. So I've got some very interesting theories on what should happen.
Well, let me ask you, there's not a lot of information coming out of Monaco Yacht Show. It doesn't matter, who you ask. There's a lot of people that I do know in the industry that I've sort of, sent messages to. Have you heard anything? What's the next step? There's just not really a lot of information out there. Do you have any insight?
Well, I think what they're trying to do at the moment, from my own internal conversation I had with the owners of the show, Informer, and from various industry stakeholders, they're trying to work out what's best to do. What level of support they're going to get, who wants to exhibit, who doesn't want to exhibit, what yachts they feel will turn up, because we have the other problem of yachts maybe having an extended season this year. So yachts may be busy, crew may be busy, owners may be busy. Charter brokers and charter companies will be busy. So this whole delay of the super yacht cruising season, the Med, may have its own impact. But I know that they're waiting and talking on a very strategic level to key partners or key exhibitors. Because to be honest, they're still quite a small team. We have to respect that a very small team puts this show together. So they can't talk to everyone at once in a very joined up way. They can broadcast when they have a decision. They can broadcast when they have an idea. But I don't think they've really finalized exactly what's going to happen. Because it's unprecedented, that word that's been overused. This is a unique situation. I'm confident that this will be a catalyst for change. Whether change is imposed this year or next year is to be seen. But I feel that what may happen, Rhea, is that we end up with a show that takes place, less exhibitors, less visitors. We might end up with a nicer environment, but still with that cloud above our heads of why aren't we all together again? We know why, but more importantly, how can we use this year as a test case for a new format? Less people, better environment to operate in.
Well, the Monaco Yacht Show has sort of been seen as the jewel in the crown of yacht shows. Do you think that's even possible to happen this year in 2020 with a different format entirely? This is where the entire industry around the world gets together. And if that's not possible, what kind of show are you going to end up with?
I think very much a European platform. I think I'd be very surprised at this stage, bearing in mind we don't know what's happening in Florida. There's a certain, let's say, pandemic resurge being talked about in Florida. So maybe Fort Lauderdale will be impacted too, another Informer show in October. So you've got other things that Informer are trying to get their head around. But what's important from my point of view is that I'm sure that there are enough people in the market who feel Monaco is possible to take place from their own local perspective. There's lots of boats still for sale. There's lots of companies who want to show those boats. The question I have is which exhibitors can make a knee-jerk reaction last minute and have some sort of physical presence. Those that have very big, complex, expensive presentations that want to showcase something different may not be able to and may have to withdraw, which is what I've heard already from some clients. It depends on what your format and what your expectations are of the show. But what's also interesting, I think what will possibly happen, bear in mind this is the 30th anniversary Monaco Yacht Show. So the wise thing to be considering is that, is this the right year to have the 30th anniversary, or should there be an interim show for the local community, the local industry, I'm talking European, those who can attend, and then focus on a bigger 30th anniversary in 21. So then that collaboration, that revisiting the model and the catalyst for change comes into play.
Well, it's interesting. Like you said, I mean, there's a lot that goes into a yacht show, and especially with the Monaco Yacht Show, these things are planned a year in advance. So for all of a sudden to come 3 months out and change your entire perspective and how you are going to approach the Monaco Yacht Show, what you're going to be highlighting, what you're going to be showing, how you're going to plan for that, is this just not enough time?
I think potentially, yes. It depends on what happens this summer in terms of, do certain subcontractors have their usual summer holiday? Because obviously, remember, the show is built by a huge number of subcontractors. It's not about lots of staff within Informa. It's coordination of an army of subcontractors to execute. So if you pare it down by half the size, and these people are almost engineering whiz kids who just put together these tents and these platforms, that can happen quite quickly. So you can see how things can be done as a temporary infrastructure basis. It just won't be the same. I can't imagine that the same showcase can be executed with 3 months to go. But I don't have the sight of their planning documents at Informa. But I think ultimately, going back to what I call what should happen, the market should focus on the future, not what I call tomorrow, because tomorrow is only 3 months away, whereas the future is September 2021. And the two things could happen in a certain format. This year we have a smaller parochial focus on Europe and what's for sale. Next year we could build the brave new world of the Monaco Yacht Show.
Well, there was an interesting thing that came out, an article that you wrote not too recently, that you thought that perhaps in 2021, that rather than have a 2020 show, that in 2021 they should have 2 shows. Can you explain that?
Well, to be honest, that concept was based on, if they didn't have a show this year, they should consider a spring show and an autumn show for 2 different segments of the industry. Now, on that basis, what I'm trying to suggest is that there are very different audiences for the different size spectrums of yachts. So below 45 meters, which is the semi-custom and the production end of the market, very different client base, spending up to maybe 10 million euros, maybe 20 million euros at a push. Then there's the 45 meter plus, which moves into the fuller custom projects, the big brands and the big sort of super yacht category. That's a totally different client base. By segmenting the two, you have, in theory, less visitors because you have a purist audience, and you have people who can do both shows or just the show that they get the most return from. So it was just a different way of thinking about how the market is made up. We can't, if you're a client, and I put my head into the client's shoes, and not my head in the client's shoes, put my feet in the client's shoes, and you turn around and say, okay, I want to go to a show and see a great spectrum of 60-meter boats. Now, when you see Monaco Yacht Show, there's maybe 10 60-meter boats in the port and 10 out at anchor. Now, logistically, because of the location of all these different boats, it becomes quite difficult to see them efficiently and comfortably. So therefore, you need to look at, can you start segmenting events so that the customer gets the best experience? Because if you're wandering around a show in the heat with a crowd and unable to get on board boats quickly and efficiently, as a buyer, that's not a good experience. And we have to that's one of the things we think is the most important focus now, is if you've got owners wandering around shows, they are our primary focus of the industry. If they're having a good time, if they're seeing what they want to see, without any barriers or any people in the way of their buyer journey, they'll be happy. If they're having to walk through crowds or get through the chaos, which sometimes ensues at boat shows, they can't do what they want to do. I've been involved in sort of walking owners around shows to see certain boats, and it's difficult to plan and organize to see 3 or 4 boats efficiently. So that's what I'm saying, is by splitting the show into 2 segments, you suddenly have an opportunity to say, actually, I know which show I want to go to because my products are there. My target product is there.
Well, I have a couple of issues to address in regards to this. First, I had an interview with Oscar Sitches not too long ago, and he was saying that as far as the city of Monaco goes, there is a lot of times where the entire place is shut down. Can Monaco handle 2 yacht shows in a year where, the regular residents are having issues parking, places are shut off entirely, they've got the Formula One, et cetera, et cetera. Can they sustain 2 yacht shows?
Well, I think if you take the Grand Prix as a typical comparable event to the Monaco Yacht Show, they do that very well. And they're the 2 most, let's say, valuable events they do annually. There are other major events that happen in Monaco, big conferences, big events, big exhibitions. So I think Monaco's geared up for events. I think what I would say, and to challenge Oscar's comment very clearly, is that there is nowhere else in the world that has what I call the perfect configuration of hotels, restaurants, port, and what I call logistics to get from A to B very efficiently than Monaco as a principality. If you go to any other boat show, you're traveling for longer periods of time to get from your hotel to your port and then to a restaurant in the evening. So this has this sort of perfect storm of quality hotel, good restaurants, and easy connectivity to all the major sort of European hubs for the boat industry to get to, or the yacht super industry to get to. But I think the other factor is that you can walk around Monaco if you want to. It's not a nightmare to walk around Monaco. Yes, there's a shortage of taxis, but there's a lot of limousines that come in for the Monaco Yacht Show that look after our primary client. And we have to just make that even more efficient. I know Oscar doesn't use limousines.
I'm not sure. I haven't asked him the question. I will make sure to the next time. The other question I have for you, though, is every year there seems to be more and more yacht shows popping up. Do you think that there's going to reach a stage where the market is just frankly oversaturated with yacht shows? Is there a need to have this many yacht shows?
Okay, I think if you look at the geography of our client base, it's absolutely global. It is anywhere from Seattle to Sydney and from Singapore to San Francisco. So you've got these wonderful sort of demographics around the world where people say the world's wealthy are based. Let's have a boat show there. The problem you've got with that is no one in the yacht market has a big enough pot of money in marketing terms to survive or sustain and allow these shows to survive and grow. What I would expect to happen in the future is that the market should turn around and say, okay, where's the best place to have 3 or 4 key shows where our customers know where to go to get the best experience, rather than saturate the market with lots of small shows trying to make a living and potentially almost destabilizing the marketing landscape. So maybe there needs to be one great American show, one great European show, one great UAE Gulf show, and one Asian show. And if the industry works together and says, okay, these are the ones we really should support because we know they've got the infrastructure, the professional organization, and they are easy and within our what I call calendar of opportunity, that industry support will sustain 4 great shows. But the superyacht market's pretty small. We sell 100 and something new builds a year. We sell 200 or 300 secondhand yachts a year. It's tiny in comparison to other industries. So we don't need 30 shows with the word superyacht in. We need to have strategically supported, well organized, ideally located hubs where all US buyers, all Gulf buyers, all Asian buyers, or all European buyers nowhere to go to in the calendar. That's my perspective on that.
Well, that is one thing that I've seen on social media. Is somebody said that they see yacht shows have almost become an industry unto themselves. Do you find that possibly it has become that way and they are taking away from the true focus of what yacht shows are? And it's very similar to much the same in the yachting industry. People think that because there's money there, that it doesn't matter what you do, you build it and you'll make money.
Yeah, very naive. Very naive. I think that you've got to do two things. One is almost ask the market what they really want. And that's something I think we should be doing as an industry now, is doing some serious sort of analysis of what the market really wants. And secondly, we should ask the customer what they think of yacht shows and whether they think yacht shows deliver the right value proposition and the right buyer experience. Because let's face it, if I had a chunk of change in my back pocket, $50 million or euros, and was shopping for a yacht, I can see a fairly good spectrum of yachts for sale. I can meet a lot of designers, lawyers, brokers, and shipyards in a yacht show. Would I want to spend the money there and then? Probably not. I get a good flavor for the market. I get a good feeling. I get entertained. I enjoy that almost being formed upon by the market. But I think the decision process takes a lot longer than 4 days in Monaco. It takes weeks, months, years to feel that everything is aligned and you want to make that commitment. Because there's so much. The other thing, the problem we have is there's so much choice.
Well, and we are talking hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of euros, dollars, whatever it may be. No decision like that is going to be made, as you said, in 4 days at any yacht show.
You'd be surprised. It has happened.
Really?
But whether mistakes have been made, I don't know. But I think people can make emotional knee-jerk decisions, especially in places like Fort Lauderdale, where there's an emotional, almost euphoria of actually doing a deal there and then, where two owners get together. However, the problem is they may regret it afterwards.
Well, they can also resell it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, I guess my question for you is, do you think that MYS 2020 should go ahead personally, in your opinion?
Ooh, should it go ahead? Okay, I think there's 2 or 3 factors to consider here. So just to recap a little bit. When you look at the current financial markets, the political statements coming out about the pandemic in places like Brazil, India, etc., it's not gone away, and it will not go away probably until some time ahead of us on a global scale. It may never go away, obviously, as people are saying. So this year is a year of absolute rebuilding and rethinking. So my instinct says, let's cancel the show this year and refocus on the future and almost take stock of what it really should deliver to the industry, but more importantly to the customer. If it goes ahead this year, it will happen anyway, and it will just become almost a sort of a calendar agenda item. People will say, should I go or should I not? And therefore you get to the stage where some will go and some will stay away, and there'll be a real confusing melee of who's turned up and who hasn't turned up. But I feel that the market per se would say, let's stall 2020 and focus on 21 and use the next 18 months to reset the dial. But if I say that to Inform, which I have suggested to Inform in before, even during this whole process, and say, actually, the time now is to listen to the market and to work with the market to improve everything about what you've got, which is a jewel in the show landscape. But there's so many things that can still be improved. And I think we've heard lots of rhetoric about what can be improved. So going back to your original question, I personally don't think it should go ahead because I feel that the market will be so busy and still licking its wounds and reorganizing its own infrastructure and systems that no one has the time to focus on getting their act together in time for September or October. So maybe this is the time which is, okay, take stock, rethink, and we'll see you next year. but my instinct tells me that may not happen.
Well, Martin, as always, it is really interesting to have a chat with you and to get your views on what is going on with the state of the industry at the moment. If anybody is interested, head on over to the Super Yacht Group and see what they're up to at the moment. We'll provide, of course, the website and their social media links underneath this interview. I thank you, Martin, for your time.
Pleasure. Lovely to meet you again.
You as well. Once again, you've been watching another edition of Yacht Crew Blogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I have been your host. Please tune in again for another episode.